Hello. Hopefully everyone's having an okay day. And yeah, this is another ramble video. I didn't think I'd be making another one so soon, but I just kind of decided to. The main topic of this video is just going to be long-term RS plans, also some of my thoughts on the game direction, touching a little bit on integrity and stuff. So yeah, I'll just get into it right now. So currently the plan is, of course, as I mentioned in my last video, to do 200 mil fishing. I think that's pretty achievable for me. Like I said before, I don't know when I will get it exactly, but hopefully this year or soon after. The next thing after 200 mil fishing for me is mining, and I'm still undecided if I want to do mining straight or if I'll skill hop something else with it, but it may just be mining straight. It will see on my mood sometimes. Like, I actually do prefer doing skills straight. I haven't really felt tempted at any point during fishing to go do something else. I just sort of settled in and started doing it. And I think it will probably be that way with mining, but with other skills, like maybe a Bible, like a bank extender, I may be tempted to go do other things to try out different methods and keep it myself entertained. But yeah, I think mining is not as far away as I thought it would be now, because I can see it like being started within like a year or so. But as for like post mining, I think that mining is going to be a very long goal for me, because I definitely can't AFK it. Next year I will be done with school pretty much, so we'll see how like work schedule works and if I even want to keep playing RS once I'm done with school. But for now, like I have the general idea that I want to keep playing and get XP, get some 200 mils. I do think that mining is a fun skill, fun looking skill. I haven't done that much of it, but it would be awesome to have 200 mil in like 3 gatherers, which are the 3 skills that I find the most valuable to me, like personally. And I might do like other ones, because the fact of the matter is I will have quite a bit of money, because I plan to do alts with mining as well. Probably just Rune Dragons, the same old thing. Hopefully it's not too hard compared to fishing. I think mining may be a bit harder to alt with, because you have to drop instead of just left clicking. But I think I can get by with Rune Dragons once I get used to it. And so yeah, because of that I will have plenty of money for any real skills that I want to do afterwards, like prayer, con, pretty much any Bible. As for ZMI, I don't know if I will be able to afford ZMI. The reason I don't know is because I don't actually have a solid GP value on how much it costs right now, or how much it might cost in the future. Like, I think the strategy is to use one runner and play 2 alts that run. So it's like 2+1, I think that's what it's called, but I really haven't looked into it all. So, and I'm not going to look into it anytime soon. Pretty much I'm gonna focus on fishing, mining when I get to it, and then afterwards I might experiment with doing other stuff. Crafting is like maybe on the horizon, since I can make most of the money that I would spend on crafting back during crafting. Would probably be a pretty safe bet. But yeah, long term, that's very long term for me. Obviously, fishing and mining are quite a bit of hours, and although I am past 3.5k app right now, a lot of that is just from already during school. Not that much from Hunter, really. It's like 800 EHP from Hunter, and quite a bit from Zone as well that I've accumulated. So in reality, I feel like I'm not super experienced as a player. I think 3k app is pretty low with that kind of ratio, and I think that after fishing, I will be kind of more intermediate in my rankings, I guess. I think that for me, the topic of whether or not to stop playing RS is come up, and it's come up in like various degrees, like whether or not I want to cold turkey quit, or just play less, like but do the same thing, or completely abandon the main EHP 200 roll playstyle and play some other like way, which is probably that's probably the most unlikely thing. I don't think I would do that. Maybe I'd play Ultimate Ironman a bit, but I don't think I could ever have that be my main thing. I think my main thing would always be like this. So if I did play Ultimate Ironman, it wouldn't really be like an Ironman playstyle where, I do PVM and I grind out like achievements like pets or rare drops from bosses and stuff. Like I don't see myself ever enjoying that kind of thing. So yeah, it would probably be just me like doing Ultimate and doing some weird like just doing 4G with like a bronze pickaxe or something, because not a lot of Ultimate Ironman have 200 mil mining, I'm guessing. But like that's sort of when I don't care about the main, and I don't know how long I will continue to care about the main. I guess that kind of leads me to the next topic I was going to discuss in this video, which is the game itself, and more specifically its direction. I think that RS has been heading in it's always been heading in this direction in my opinion, but it's always gotten easier. The game's always getting easier. The game's never really getting more difficult. Quality of life stuff tends to pass pretty much nowadays without too much question. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, it depends really. A lot of the quality of life stuff that they say is quality of life is really just like XP boost in Masquerade, and I don't really know if I want to like full throttle into that, because it's very easy. Like if something boosts the XP an hour of the skill you're training, it can be nice. Or if it boosts the XP an hour of the skill that you haven't trained yet but are planning to, that's also nice. But if it's for a skill that you've already gotten to 200 mil, then it's kind of like, that's where people usually say the word devaluation. And I think that devaluation is very natural part of this game, because this game is pretty much designed, at least the the updates are pretty much designed in a way that content will always be made easier. I feel like there's rarely any like just pure new content that doesn't devalue other stuff. Everything is very tightly connected, and so the release of one piece of content affects like a lot of different things. And I definitely don't think that these things are properly addressed or fully addressed or comprehended by the staff members and even the community itself. I think that most likely because it's a really complicated thing to study the effects of like how one thing will affect everything else. It's just a very messy kind of analysis, and not one that I think most people or the J-mods are really equipped to deal with, and definitely not me as well. So I think like MMOs are kind of, in general, as a genre of games, doomed to this. Because the way RuneScape is designed, like new pieces of armor or weaponry are kind of tied to DPS pretty much, because of how RuneScape's combat system is working. And it's sort of like there is best in slot, and there's a little bit of wiggle room. Like you can have best in slot for different like situations, but you can only push that kind of niche arm or like niche weaponry or equipment that far. Like, and sometimes they fail. Like the one recent-ish example, I guess that's not that recent, is Zenite jewelry. Is intended to be kind of like sort of an upgrade to the Onyx jewelry, but it ended up being just better, because even without the defense bonus, like DPS is the real big deal in this game. Defense doesn't really matter that much anyway. So it's kind of difficult to work around that when you're releasing new content, which is why I think that RS3 kind of went the way it did, because if you want like a new update to excite people, you have to release something better than the previous thing, and you can only do that so far before it feels like the whole game is full of dead content. So I think that RS is going to kind of fall into this trap, and I think that I don't really know what's a good solution to that. You know, obviously, if RS had a much like more complicated or maybe a sophisticated kind of system for combat, like not so linear and everything like that, maybe it could be a bit better, and that people could design like smart content that wouldn't automatically devalue older content or immediately become dead content itself. But I mean, game design is a very hard thing, especially for stuff like RPGs where, you know, the things that you're releasing aren't very multifaceted in their kind of design. It's not like some games where there's a lot of like different angles that you can go for when designing a piece of content. Here it's kind of like you know, you have the raw XP now, or the difficulty of the skill, I guess, you know, like the click intensive or attention. And for like weaponry, you just have like these damage modifiers and where they are useful and stuff like that. I think that, you know, there's been some good game design and there's been a lot of bad game design in regards to old school. There's obviously a lot I could point to, and I don't think I will want to start making a list right now in this video. But I think that over time, I do think that the game will kind of degrade, and maybe not necessarily degrade, it will just kind of get to a point where it feels very close to RS3 in that there's a lot of dead content floating around. It feels like the game itself is kind of too easy, it offers too much quality of life, and it's possible, like, the game can still be enjoyable and have all that, you know, all those issues. It's just that it really depends on who's playing. Like, for example, me, I feel like I'm kind of very unaffected by pretty much all the updates, most of the updates that is, that have come out in the past years, because most of them have been PVM content, and I don't really do too much PVM. I don't really do any PVM except on the alt lately with raids and stuff, but it does obviously affect money making. But right now I'm just doing gatherers, and obviously, like, you know, Theater of Blood and stuff. I mean, I guess I take that back. It does kind of affect the 2 all playstyle, but if you're just someone who just sits down and, you know, 3-tick fishes all day, and that's the only thing you're ever going to do on your account, I think that that kind of niche gameplay isn't really too affected, which can be alluring to some people. I guess that's why some people like free-to-play gameplay, like there's a restriction on their account, and so I can definitely see that. But anyway, the point I was making with this is, like, obviously people play the game in different ways. Like, there's PKers, there's PVMers, there's skillers, there's Iron Man. There's a lot of different ways to play the game, and a lot of different segments of the player base and stuff like that, and they're not mutually exclusive. Like, there's PVMers and skillers, there's PKers and skillers, there's like Iron Man and mains, you know, who PVM on the main and just do Iron Man stuff on the Iron Man. It's kind of like a very mixed community, in my opinion, and I think that it's hard to cater to all those different communities. So I don't really know. I guess the final point is I don't really know where RS is going. The game may get worse to a lot of people objectively or subjectively, but I do think that the game will itself last for quite a long time. I don't know if Jagex will make like the same kind of decisions that led to the stagnation and, you know, unpopularity of RS3. I think maybe they're trying to stay away from that, but I also think they're falling into quite a lot of the old traps from RS3. They've added quite a bit of RS3 content, and I feel like if they don't pay attention or are very careful, they could, you know, introduce the same problems that RS3 has right now. I think there's some of that, but I don't really want to touch on the specifics because it's kind of just very subjective. But yeah, I think for now, like, if I were to continue playing for several years, I think the game would be in a manageable state. I think I would probably be fine with the game itself. Like, I know a lot of people over time have gotten disinfatuated with, is that the word? Disinfatuated? Well, disheartened, I guess, maybe, with the state of the game and how things have changed, because it is a very different game from 2013, obviously, even though I wasn't around for most of that to play it. And some people just adapt to the new changes, some people just straight up like the new changes. I think I'm probably one of the ones who just adapts / likes it. I don't feel like any of the quality of life things that have come out have really ruined stuff for me. I think that I'm able to still do what I want in the game and not be too bothered by it. Like, I was able to do hunter, fishing is fine, mining will be fine, pretty sure. So as long as like those pieces of content aren't ruined for me, and just skilling in general is not crap, I always think that I can find something to enjoy in this game. So yeah, that's kind of just my little ramble on where the game is going and how I feel about it. The answer is kind of inconclusive, and I feel, I guess, not necessarily indifferent, but I feel like I can at least manageably adapt to the changes that are coming to the game. So the last point I actually wanted to touch on this video is kind of, I obviously talked about it before earlier in this video, is my sticking around for RS, because I have said this before, but I'm not sure when exactly I said it, but I have said that I'm not a tuner all player. I don't foresee myself ever getting it. I just kind of have this vague intention that if I let myself, I'll probably get quite far, because, you know, after you finish one skill, you're like, well, I guess I can do another skill or something, maybe AFK it. And then of course, like, for me, I start to get into stuff, like I've gotten into fishing and hunter, of course, and I feel like that's realistically how I would get to an emerald all, just by knocking out skills one by one in the order of like how I prefer them. But I honestly think that at some point I will probably just stop playing, because, you know, realistically this game is kind of a big time sink, and it's not really that rewarding for you to play this game for so much. It, like, obviously I really enjoyed the game and all the long-term goals and everything, but I could also probably be doing a lot more productive things with my time. Like, well, I won't name exactly what, it's pretty obvious. Like, you can do, like, I am in school and working at the time, but I feel like there's more stuff I could do with my hobbies and stuff, and do research and make cool stuff and whatever, like learn foreign languages better and study some interesting topics, subjects, whatever. I'm just saying that there's a lot more to life than RS, and of course it's everyone's choice how they want to spend it, and I think, you know, it's pretty reasonable for me to say that, considering I am dumping quite a bit of time of my own free time into this game, that it kind of does inhibit some stuff if you're just constantly trying to play it. Even if you're trying to AFK it a lot, you're just always thinking about your, you know, XP and stuff like that. Oh, I always have to keep playing, I always have to keep being logged in. You know, it's kind of unhealthy. And to be honest, I think that's why I suffered my first burnout at the end of last year. I was just too on with the HP mindset. I went too far, and I really just burnt myself out, to be honest. Like, I started out taking a break, and that break turned out to be quite long. It turned out to be like 4 months, and the whole time I was still AFKing, but I was kind of just mentally done. Like, I would put in a lot less effort to be logged into the game. I feel like I was pretty okay with it. In fact, in January of this year, at the very beginning of this new year, I wasn't even sure, like, if I would unburn, like, anytime soon. I think it's kind of just chance that I unburned. Maybe it's because of the new year, maybe it's because I realized how realistically I could finish fishing, or something else, right? Maybe mentally something changed. Yeah, so these are really rambles because I am not very concise with these points, but hopefully I get the sentiment across that, you know, RS kind of takes up a lot of time, and maybe it's good, maybe it's not that good. So yeah, I didn't really talk too much about RS itself. I kind of talked about, I guess I did talk about RS, but I didn't really talk about like playing the game, like individual methods in the game. I sort of talked about the maybe broader aspects of the game and kind of how it impacted or impacts my life, I guess. I don't think that I'm, you know, super addicted or I'm playing too much or anything. I think that I can balance it, but I do think that it's kind of a weird thing to balance because it's a totally unnecessary thing to have. Obviously there's a lot of, I guess there's some benefit into it, but it might, for a lot of people, I think it would do a lot more harm than good to be absorbed into it. But that's just my 2 cents. Personally, I think that some people, like, I think that it will happen, and it has happened to a lot of people. And I don't know, maybe it's okay to be playing a game for most of your life. Not to be too morbid or anything, but it's all kind of the same at the end. You know, at the very, very end, I guess. So yeah, I don't really want to get like too dark during this ramble. This wasn't my intention, but yeah, hopefully you guys didn't take this as like a depressing kind of ramble. I really didn't intend it to be. I think that's more or less everything I have to say. This was a longer ramble, 21 minutes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this kind of ramble. I didn't really write anything down as far as like bullet points to talk about. I just sort of said what was on my mind, and I think I went through everything that I was thinking of saying. Yeah, so I guess I'll end the video now. Take care, guys.